Gokarna, often known as the hippies' paradise, is a small pilgrimage beach town located in the southern part of India along the coasts of Karnataka. Literally speaking, it actually means a cow's ear, a name that has very deep mythological significance, making Gokarna also a very popular religious tourism destination. That is, apart from being known as a hippie's paradise as well. I spent around 6 days in Gokarna living the budget backpacker life, so let me share that with you so that you can also plan your trip. In our case, before visiting Gokarna, we were road tripping across Goa for 2 weeks, so the whole thing was like a 3 week long beach vacation.
Welcome to the northernmost part of Goa.
And Gokarna is just like 100 kilometers from Goa. Plus, the best part is that there are regular trains available from Madgaon station to Gokarna road station. So, in just 1.5 hours, you can reach from Goa to Gokarna. That too with a ticket and second seating costing only 60 rupees. So, it's super budget friendly as well. And trust me when I say this entire train journey is one of the most scenic routes of India, especially during or post monsoon, like we did in the first week of October. You will be traveling through the heart of the lush green Western Ghats, and on the way you'll encounter waterfalls and such beautiful rivers and backwater lagoons. Once you reach Gokarna road station, you can take an auto all the way to Gokarna beach, which will cost you maybe around 400 to 500. Alternatively, what we did is walk from the station to the main road, which was around 10 minutes. And then from the main road, we got up on a bus and that took us all the way to Gokarna beach for just 10 rupees. This distance is around 15 kilometers, so it will take you around 30 minutes. By the way, Gokarna is only 500 kilometers from Bangalore, so you can easily take an overnight bus and reach here. Hello and good morning from Gokarna. That behind me, you see, that's the stay. And right now, I'm walking towards the beach, which is Kudla Beach. And the agenda of today is to do a beach trek all the way to the Paradise Beach. Let's see how it goes. And yes, I don't have anyone with me right now. Anurag had some work. He's staying back. So yeah, I'm going to do this trek solo. Let's see if I get people on the way. And the beach, by the way, from here, from the stay, is like 250 meters. Only the sad part of this is that the road is very narrow there, and like right next to you, you'll find the drain water. So it's a little, the road, it's very yay. Other than that, it takes like 7-8 minutes of walking to reach. Chalo, let's go. So this Gokarna beach trek is one of the best ways to explore all the beaches of Gokarna, especially the ones which can be only reached by a boat or by trekking. The entire distance of the trek is somewhere around 10 kilometers and should take you around 5 to 6 hours. You start at the Kudli beach, then you reach Om beach, and then from there you go to Half Moon beach, then Paradise beach, and finally at Belican beach. From Belican beach, you can take an auto ride back to Gokarna main beach or Kudli beach, or you can also take a ferry ride from Paradise beach back to Kudli. Some companions on the narrow path from Hosteller Gokarna to the Kudli beach. Hi to another one. And right there, after the short walk, there is the beach. In the evening, we actually came here during the sunset. Honestly, we didn't have a lot of luck with the sunsets on this trip because it was so much cloudy the whole time. But this one right here in Gokarna, it was so beautiful. The landscape of Kudli Beach is also extremely beautiful. Like, there's this entire hill range on one side, just straight out of a postcard. But right now it's actually pretty empty, even though it's October, because by October only the crowds start coming, post monsoon crowd. So yeah, but then it's beautiful. So I've left behind the Kudle beach and I'm walking up the stairs.
Okay, so possibly this is not like a trail. I'm just walking, and there was a policeman. I asked him where the road to the Om Beach is. He said it's this way, so I'm walking this way. But my dear ladies and gentlemen, it's the beach. That is actually Kudle Beach parking from what the map was showing, and I'd recommend you also refer to this one route on Google Maps. I did see someone make it. I forgot the name of the channel. Shout out to those guys. The map is pretty, pinpointed, precise. Yeah, I'll attach that link in the description as well. Okay, since only you and I are here and nobody else pretty much is here, let me tell you something. If you are okay, there are people. I don't know where they are though. I can see 3 scooties standing. Yeah, anyways, if you are coming on a trail like this, please have somebody informed where you're going. Don't just randomly come along without any plans. You never know where you can get lost. Yeah, and have offline Google Maps downloaded. That would be the best advice I can give you, or All Trails or Maps.me, any of them. Google Maps might not help you sometimes because trails aren't as such marked here, although somebody created this map, so that's why I have access to it. Otherwise you can refer to All Trails and Maps.me. Yeah, I'm just a little skeptical sometimes. I'm just hearing noises here and there. There are monkeys though, actually. A couple of monkeys I've seen, but sometimes I'm just a little bit scared. Jaiza, right? Here again. Oh, Baba. Oh, okay. There's one way here. Not sure what that is. Let's see. Now the map is very old. It said there would be a way down here, but this has sort of been blocked. So I'm gonna have to find some way from the front. I can see the beach though, there. Wait a minute. Yes, there. Right there. And that would be the Om Beach. Let's see. I'll have to go through the front, actually. Yeah. Don't follow something blindly, because things might be outdated a bit. Use your instincts a bit sometimes. This is like a proper jungle trail. And I am profusely sweating because the heat in October in Goa is like, oh my god. Sunscreen is a must. Did apply it before coming out, but I forgot to carry it, so won't be able to reapply it. Sad part.
At this point, I was so happy to have made the hike from Kudle Beach to Om Beach, but then I was stopped by a lifeguard and he told me that the route for Paradise Beach was shut. The hiking trail basically remains shut during the monsoons for safety purposes and it had not yet opened.
भाई नसीब ही इतनी खराब है, क्या बोलूं. Sad luck. Basically, I can't even go to the point to where that Om shape is visible. They said that basically the last part of it I can go. After this, it's not open right now. It will open from 10th October. Even all the cafes and stuff that are there, I saw that they were all shut. So that's there though. But I really wanted to see the Om shape from the top यार. At least वो तो दिख जाता, वो भी नहीं दिखेगा अब. Anyways, let's make the most out of this visit. And there's a cafe over there. I love the waves here. Absolutely love it. Yeah, so we'll go to the cafe now.
Days like this are just another reminder that sometimes, no matter how much planning you do, not everything goes according to the plan. I had set out with a goal to complete the beach trek, but sadly that was not possible. So I decided to spend my time at Om Beach under the shade of the tree here, doing the one thing that is absolutely a must for any beach vacation, and that is beach bumming. It was so therapeutic listening to the waves crashing on the shore while I collected shells from the beach. And I couldn't help but constantly think about this one line from Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, where Naina goes like, जितना भी ट्राई करो बनी, लाइफ में कुछ ना कुछ तो छूटेगा ही, इसीलिए जहाँ है वही का मजा लेते हैं. And that is what beach vacations have always taught me. Because for someone like me who's always chasing destinations, I forget how important, how calming, how amazing it can actually be to slow down. So then I made my way to the only beach shack which was open on Om Beach, and the name of this place was Namaste Cafe. October is honestly super hot in Gokarna, so the cafe was a welcome change because I was sweating so much. Gokarna by and large is a very peaceful beach town, so this cafe was also one of the few places which had quite a vibey thing going on. Of course, the best part of it was this beach view, which you can enjoy while you're having your food. The only other place which had a little bit of nightlife to it was this French cafe called Chez Christophe, which we visited on our first night in Gokarna. Other than that, it is a pretty chill place, so don't go here expecting a dazzling nightlife like Goa, because then you'll be disappointed. Instead, come to Gokarna for the slow afternoons, like brunching on spaghetti carbonara at a beach cafe like this.
Mission unsuccessful, but at least I look pretty. Now that I've got my braids done for 50 rupees. I was asking for 80 rupees, so a little bit of bargaining. I remember the first time I did braids back in Goa, December that was. The lady was asking me 200 rupees for just one single strand. I actually paid even also 150 rupees. That's a pretty lot, to be honest. But yeah, I look pretty, so I hope. Yes, so Paradise Beach I wasn't able to go, but I did get somebody's contact, White Pearl Cruises I think. They have a package where Paradise Beach is also included, and a couple of other water sports is also included. You can check them out, the contact and everything also I'll share with you, so that you can do. I might consider going tomorrow, but tomorrow I also had plans of going for Honavar, like really wanting to do that, the whole mangrove boating, and also Castle Court Beach, which is one of the blue flag beaches. And blue flag beaches, from my experience, they are very beautiful. They're maintained actually, so there's that. Let's see what happens. That's all for now.
Around 80 kilometers from Gokarna, you have Murdeshwar, which is the home to the Atmalinga, and also there's the world's third highest Shiva statue, which sits on a small hill right across the Arabian Sea. From Gokarna bus stand, we took a bus till Kumta, and then from Kumta, we took another bus till Mudureshwar, which took us all the way to the temple premises. The frequency of buses is great in this part of Karnataka. Overall, it took us around 2 hours to reach. Once we reached, we were absolutely blown away by the grandeur of this massive Rajagopuram of the Murdeshwar temple. It's as tall as a 20-story high building and is also the second tallest Gopuram of India. In fact, you have the option of going all the way up to the 18th floor, but we did have to wait for almost an hour because the lift remains shut between 1 and 3 o'clock. The ticket only costs 20 rupees, but expect quite the queue. And once you reach the top, the view of the Murdeshwar town on one side and then of the Arabian Sea on the other, it is absolutely incredible. And with the view of the third tallest Shiva statue, it was definitely worth the long wait. Plus the cool breeze of the Arabian Sea that was hitting our face just made us want to sit by this window all day long. A truly heavenly or divine experience, if I may say so. We went into the main temple of Murdeshwar next, but as is always the case, we couldn't take our phones inside. Next, we went up to the Shiva statue, underneath which there is a Bhukai Lasha cave museum. It contains life-size statues which basically narrate the entire story of the Atmalinga of Lord Shiva. And we'll tell you why places like Murdeshwar and Gokarna became such significant religious hubs. So it was like taking a walk through the mythological world. Now, before I move ahead into the vlog, let me just give you a quick backstory about Gokarna because abhi मैं आपको मुर्देश्वर के बारे में बता रही थी and the story is actually related to that as well. And this is about the mythological significance of Gokarna. Remember how I said in the beginning of the vlog that Gokarna means cow's ear? So this is a story that actually tells you that why it's called Gokarna. Now, we all know about Ravana, right? The demon king of Lanka, who is our villain of Ramayana. So he was a devout follower of Lord Shiva, and I think you would also know that he's the one who actually wrote the Shiv Tandav Stotram. Now, there's one version of the story which says that Ravana's mom, she was also a devout follower of Lord Shiva, and she used to pray to him for her son's well-being. It was Lord Indra who I think got jealous, and out of spite, he threw the Shivlinga into the ocean, and his mom, as in Ravana's mom, she went on a hunger strike. And then seeing his mom go on a hunger strike, Ravana promised her that he is going to bring back the Shivling. In fact, he's going to bring the Atmalinga. Now, this is one version, and obviously the more common one is that Ravana he himself wanted to be all-powerful, and that is why he wanted the Atmalinga. Now, what is the Atmalinga exactly? So, it is this invincible representation, something that cannot be defeated, a part of Shiva's soul, and anybody who is said to have possessed that would obviously become invincible himself, and he'll get all-encompassing power and hence would get more immortality himself, and Ravana probably wanted that for himself. So anyways, Ravana goes to Mount Kailash, which is the abode of Lord Shiva, we know, and there he starts this rigorous penance, this greatly devoted journey of sacrifices, of singing Shiva's praises, and Shiva just gets wowed by that. So he decides to give Ravana a blessing because he was swayed by his utmost devotion, and then he says that okay, I'm gonna grant you one wish. And Ravana, against the forewarnings of all the sages who said that no such power is not to be had, he goes ahead and he says to Shiva that I want the Atmalinga. Anyways, so Shiva agrees to give him that, but he puts one condition forward, and that condition is that he would have to carry the Atmalinga all the way to Lanka, where he wants to take it, without putting it down even once on the ground. If it were to touch the ground, then there and then that Atmalinga is gonna establish itself, and there's no which way that can be pulled up from the ground after that point. Ravana agrees to that, and so he
decides to carry it back. Now, because suddenly he has this Atmalinga, so he's gonna become all invincible, right? So the other gods get wary of this thing because nobody should have that much amount of power. So they go to Lord Vishnu with their predicament कि यार ऐसा ऐसा हो गया है, कुछ करो आप. So Lord Vishnu then says, okay, I think I have the perfect solution for this, and who is going to help me in this case? Lord Ganesha. So now Lord Ganesha goes to Gokarna to execute this mission, and he goes in the disguise of a Brahmin boy. Now, when Ravana is crossing Gokarna, what Lord Vishnu does is he uses his Sudarshan Chakra and he puts it in front of the sun. So Ravana thinks that, okay, now is the time for a evening prayer, because Ravana was was a very devoted follower of Lord Shiva. So he would do these daily ritualistic prayers quite rigorously. So when he sees that, okay, the sun has gone down, so it's time for his puja, so he gets down and now he's like, I need to put this down, the Atmalinga. Obviously he can't put it down now, so he finds a Brahmin boy and he gives that Atmalinga to the boy, and now who is the boy? Obviously our Lord Ganesha. Lord Ganesha agrees that, okay, I'm going to hold it for you, but I have a condition. What is the condition? That I'm going to hold it as long as my hands don't pain. Once I am tired, I'm going to put it down. But before that, I'm going to call your name 3 times. If you can answer by that, if you come to me during that period, then I'm going to give it to you. That's it. So Ravana agrees to that. Okay, no problem. I'll come when you call me. So saying that, he goes to offer his prayers. Now Lord Ganesha, what the heck, ekdam chatur. So he goes like, rapidly calls his name 3 times. And then obviously now Ravana, he cannot stop his prayers in the middle of it and just come and take the Atmalinga, because obviously you cannot एक बीच में आप पूजा छोड़ के आ नहीं सकते हो. तो हो जाता है सत्यानाश. तो क्या होता है, Lord Ganesha, he calls his name, and then obviously because Ravana does not come, he puts the Atmalinga on the ground and then he escapes amongst his cows. Ravana, by the time he finishes whatever he was doing and then he comes to chase the boy, he sees that there's only one cow remaining, and majority of the cow has gone underground. It's trying to disappear. So the only part that was remaining was the ear of the cow. So that's what has been petrified, and hence the name Gokarna. That's pretty much how the place gets its name. And obviously what happens to the Atmalinga is what was supposed to happen. Jo hona tha, wahi hua. Ravana tries to pull it out, but sadly he's not able to do that. Like Lord Shiva said, nahi ho payega. And in the quest of doing that, actually a few pieces of the Atmalinga actually scattered around a couple of places in Karnataka, and one of them is actually Murdeshwar. So that is why you worship a part of the Atmalinga in Murdeshwar as well. And as of Gokarna, what happened in Gokarna, so because he was not able to pull it out, he named that thing Mahabaleshwar. And that is why the main temple of Gokarna is called the Mahabaleshwar temple. And this is the temple where people would go and offer prayers, and the reason why Gokarna is also a very prime pilgrimage spot in South India. Honavar is an untouched backwater paradise in Karnataka, located only 50 kilometers away from Gokarna. If you're looking for a place that will offer you the ultimate tranquility and natural beauty, then this is the place for you. It's still quite offbeat, but taking a boat ride in the backwaters here is a must do. To explore this beautiful gem, I decided to go on a solo day trip from Gokarna by my forever best friend, public transport. From the Gokarna bus stand, I first took a local KSRTC bus to Kumta, where I then stopped for a quick lunch at this restaurant called Annapurna, which was right next to the bus stand. And then after the hearty lunch, I boarded another bus from Kumta to Kasaragod Eco Beach in Honavar. network of buses Karnataka has. Literally every place is so well connected. I just got down at Kasargod. The plan is to visit the beach, but that will happen later on. Yeah.
From the highway, there's an intersection in the road towards the left which goes to a place which is a real hidden gem, and it's called Sharavati Mangrove Boardwalk, which was going to be my first spot for the day. You can actually find the place on Google Maps as well. Just type in Sharavati Mangrove Boardwalk and then just follow along these signs which will point you towards the boardwalk. So Honavar has beautiful backwaters, and one of the best things that you can do is boating. As soon as I stopped, the boat people they were asking if I wanted to do boating. They did agreed on 800 for me for 1 hour. Although I told them कि like आप लोग पकड़ो, मैं करूँगी बोटिंग, लेकिन मैं अकेले में 800 नहीं देने वाली हूँ. So that's what I told them. I gave him my number, and let's see. The Sharavati Mangrove Boardwalk, as the name suggests, is a wooden boardwalk right through the middle of a mangrove forest. It's the kind of place that you see a picture of and just say, wow, this is so Instagram worthy. The entry ticket is just 10 rupees, and you could spend a whole hour just amidst this tranquility enjoying a leisurely walk along this wooden bridge, which meanders along the forest and gives you an opportunity to look at the mangrove ecosystem quite up close. There was this one section towards the end which was a little bit adventurous, even because you had water on both sides and there was no side railing to protect you. Yeah, definitely not the best place to get stuck in. Anyways, needless to say, given how picturesque and scenic this place is, it does provide a lot of opportunities for photo ops as well. After the boardwalk, I finally did get convinced about the boat ride, so this was my ride till the boating point.
From the gate, I think it was almost a 5 minutes ride till this point, and भैया जो थे वो मुझे अपने बाइक पे लेके आए, and I think that is sort of the charm of traveling solo, कि people are there who are willing to help you, who are willing to give you proper rates for activities because they know you're not with somebody, so they agreed on 600. And I think that's pretty decent for 1 hour ride. So yeah, that's it. Let's see how the boating goes. You have to do Honavar by boating. There's mountains in the background, then there's mangroves, and then there's trees, coconut trees all around. It's just beautiful, beautiful. Full paisa vasool 1 घंटे के लिए. So I made the payment and फिर भैया ने drop कर दिया highway के पास. Basically highway की एक side पे is the boardwalk, Sharavati Mangrove Boardwalk, that's the name of the river, and दूसरे side पे is Kasargod Eco Beach, which is one of the 12 blue flag beaches in India. So I'm very excited to see it. I've previously seen Radhanagar and Golden Beach in Puri, and both of them were very beautiful. So let's see how this one is.
well, it surely did live up to the hype of being a Blue Flag certified beach. It was so clean, so pristine, so beautiful. Honestly, it made me wonder, why is it that we Indians can't seem to keep our other major popular beaches clean and free of trash? Especially the ones in Goa, which is just around 150 kilometers from this place. We surely can we not? And that's how my last evening was in Gokarna at this beautiful, beautiful Kasaragod beach. And it left me with this one thought: why is it that we as humans discover a place, then completely destroy it in the name of enjoying it, and then we set out on the hunt for newer, offbeat, unexplored places? Why? No, because the old ones have been thoroughly poisoned. Anyways, I'll spare you the further deep thoughts as of this vlog. So here's a video of me hitchhiking my way back to Honavar bus stand behind the bike of a very kind stranger who saw me struggling to get on a bus from the middle of the highway. And such kindness that I received from absolute strangers during my Gokarna trip is why I would 100% recommend you to visit Gokarna for your next beach vacation.
Speaking of mode of transport, obviously you have your buses. Like I was saying, I went to Kumta and then Murdeshwar via buses. So there's that. It's going to be very, very budget friendly. But then again, not every place would be connected by buses. And especially for Yana Caves, that circuit, you would have to rent either a bike or scooty, or just hire an auto for that case. Autos are actually going to be very, very expensive because the thing is it's a part of the Western Ghats region now, so the landscape is thoda na aise ubad khabad. It's not a plain region. Like if you even go from Gokarna main beach to the Kudle beach, the route is like aise karke upar se niche se. It's pretty ubad khabad. So that is why they end up charging a lot. Even if you go for like just 1 kilometer, the autos are going to charge like 100 rupees per kilometer, something like that. So that is going to be very expensive. So the best option you have in this case is to rent a scooty. Scooties would cost you around 500 rupees usually, but like I went during the Gandhi Jayanti long weekends. Okay, so the scooties were costing like 1,000 minimum. Some were asking for 1,500. Gokarna itinerary. Let me give you one 3-day itinerary and another 4-day itinerary, so that depending on the number of days that you have in hand, you can just adjust it accordingly. See, for stay, we stayed at 2 different hostels. One was Hosteler Gokarna, which is closer to Kudle Beach. That is a very good stay, but the problem is that it's a little disconnected from the main hub of Gokarna, which is near the main beach. So raat ko you would have to rely on the hostel food itself, because the path to the beach again is pretty narrow and pretty dark after sunset. So that is a problem for that. Otherwise, it's a very, very fabulous stay, because ekdam upar agar 4th floor pe chale gaya na wahan se, to the sea is visible and it's so gorgeous. It's just absolutely beautiful. And the other place where we stayed was called Juggle by Stumpy. It's another hostel. It was a more budget friendly hostel, and this was actually quite close to the main bus stand. It was only like 10-15 minutes walk, but then this walk, it was ekdam seedha uphill walk. So again, you would want to avoid walking that distance, honestly, trust me, because with all the bags and all, it was a pretty steep incline. Just get an auto. They'll take 100 rupees, give it, but just take an auto. So these are 2 hostels where we stayed. Gokarna does not have a lot of resorts per se. So luxury mein agar aapko karna hai, to this is not the best place if you ask me. Obviously, ekdam ultra luxury is possible, because there's Kahani Paradise, which is literally like one of the most expensive resorts India has. But apart from that, it's more on the budget side of things, because at the end of the day, Gokarna is a religious coastal town. It's a pilgrimage spot.
So you have to keep that in mind. A lot of people are actually coming for pilgrimage rather than just nice beach vacation. The most budget option would be tents. There will be a lot of beachside shacks who would offer you tent stays. But then again, I have personally talked to a few people who have stayed in tents, and those tents are usually very, very dirty because obviously they're mostly along the beach. So, बहुत खराब होता है. If you are on a very, very strict budget, then obviously you can take it. Probably will cost you 300 to 400 per person. Again, if you go during long weekends or something like that, it's going to be more expensive. I think when we asked for it, it was 1,000 rupees per person during the Gandhi Jayanti long weekend. So that was honestly more expensive than paying 600 for the hostel, the Jungle Base Ramphei hostel where we stayed. I would suggest that you either stay on the main beach or Kudle Beach, depending on what exactly your preference is. I mean, you can go for Kudle Beach if you are looking more for quietness, tranquility, and just if you want to be in the middle of nowhere for just the peace of it. And if you want more connectivity, better connectivity, then obviously go for any of the stays on main beach. And both of the places would have beachside shacks, beachside stays, very, very basic stays. Most of them would not even probably have ACs, so that kind of basic stay, so you can go for those. And lastly, obviously, the budget. Here's a rough estimate of the minimum budget that you would require. And of course, you would have to add your journey costs to that. That's it for this video, guys. I hope this video inspired you to make a plan to go Kanha soon. And if you did find this helpful, it'll mean a lot if you just please drop a like or maybe leave a comment or share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel.